Alrighty, so it looks like it's about 1 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and just get started and we'll do a little bit of introductions. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Mackenzie. I'm the Transportation Demand Management Specialist with Connect Bellevue. We're here today with WSDOT to chat a little bit about the Revive I-5 and the 405 and SR 67 construction projects, their disruptions, and what you as employers can do to alleviate some of that for your employees. So first, we're going to hear a little bit about the Revive I-5 construction, and then we'll go on to the I-405 SR67 corridor program, and then I'll close it out with the employer solutions and next steps. And after each section, we'll have a bit of a Q&A so that you guys can ask questions directly from the experts here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and pass it over to the I-5 team.
All right, thanks, Kenzie. Share my screen really quick. But no, thank you so much to Connect Bellevue for the opportunity to give a project update on Revive I-5. My name is Michelle Nguyen. I am the strategic communications manager for the Revive I-5 project. And happy to be here today. I like to start these conversations off with sort of why we're focused on the Ship Canal Bridge, which is where hopefully, construction is happening. We have been on the road for a little over a month now. But the reason we focused on the Ship Canal Bridge was it was the most critical need on I-5 right now. The bridge itself is about 60 years old and hasn't seen a major preservation effort in over 40 years. That being sort of, or even though it is one of the busiest stretches of I-5, with almost 240,000 vehicles traveling across the bridge each day, and WSDOT has completed well over 200 emergency repairs on that bridge since 2019. So with emergency repairs, those are obviously unplanned. That's why they're emergencies. And a lot of unplanned impacts mean unplanned traffic disruptions. So as you're driving, a big pothole comes about, and all of a sudden we have to close a lane or two to be able to do an emergency repair on that pothole. So a lot of disruptions over the past few years on this stretch of I-5 in particular. So was really important for us to be able to start work as soon as possible. What that schedule ended up looking like was we started work last year over the course of the summer. So in June and July, there was a couple of weekend closures, followed by a 4-week closure of 2 lanes of the northbound in the northbound direction. After that summer work, we also moved over to the southbound lanes to replace some drains in the southbound direction. All of this was prep work for what's actually happening in this year and next year. So this year, on January 9th, we did a full closure of northbound I-5. And since then, 2 lanes of the northbound direction across the Ship Canal Bridge have been closed. So this lane reduction has been in place since January 12th, which is that Monday. So we picked up after setting up the work zone using that full weekend closure. And since then, we've been in this long-term lane reduction phase. This will last until we pick up for FIFA World Cup. We'll pause Revive I-5 work on the Ship Canal Bridge for FIFA World Cup before returning after the last match in Seattle. And then we'll be in the northbound lanes going from, right now we're in the 2 left, going to the 2 right lanes until the end of the year. And then in 2027, same pattern happens, but in the southbound lanes. It'll be the 2 left lanes on southbound I-5 across the Ship Canal Bridge. We'll be working in those 2 lanes. And then around mid-year, we'll switch over to the 2 right lanes of southbound I-5. During all this work, the express lanes run in the direction of work 24 hours a day. So right now, because work is in the northbound lanes, the express lanes are running northbound only 24 hours a day. The complete detailed schedule for 2026, like I mentioned, we pick up for FIFA World Cup. That is currently, that full weekend closure is currently scheduled for June 5th to 8th. That is when we go in and we remove all of those barriers. We then return July 10th through the 13th after that last FIFA World Cup match in Seattle, with another full weekend closure to put that work zone in the two right lanes of northbound I-5. And that lasts until end of 2026. So what's happening on the bridge right now? You can kind of see from this photo on your far left, the status of the bridge deck. It's not looking so good. And what's interesting here is you can kind of see the patchwork of repairs. There's little holes that are different colors of concrete or asphalt. And it's just sort of very much band-aided together. So what we're doing is we're actually going through, and in the middle photo there, you can kind of see that milling work. That is when they took off about the first inch of the deck overlay itself. So they go through, they mill the bridge deck. That removes about the first inch or so of that deck overlay. From there, we go to what we're actually working on right now, which is hydro demolition. That is the photo on the far right. If you think of like the biggest, most high-powered pressure washer you've seen, that's what hydro demolition is. It's using a lot of high-pressured water to get the remainder of that deck overlay down to sort of where the steel reinforcements are. And the reason we do that is we can then evaluate what parts of the deck need to be repaired. So say you kind of do this and you see down to the express lanes, like there's a big hole. That's definitely one of those signs where we need to go through, we need to repair that before we actually resurface the bridge. And so this work's going to last for a couple months in terms of that hydro demolition. Before we finally get to the actual resurfacing of the bridge. But I'd like to kind of show those photos just to give everybody an idea of what's actually happening out there on the bridge right now. For the project itself too, we provide what we call a partner toolkit. There are a bunch of materials that have sort of that look and feel for Revive I-5, like you see here to the right. We talk a lot about we're reviving the Ship Canal Bridge. You'll see sort of this little Revive I-5 logo-ish for the project on all of our materials. But we want to prepare everybody or provide everybody as much information as possible to be able to share them with your audiences. Partly because we know that not everybody listens to us. It's where we might not be sort of where you turn to when you're looking for information as to what could potentially impact your ability to travel sort of throughout the region. And so we look to great partners like Connect Bellevue to be able to share out that information because they are your trusted partners to be able to get that information and break it down in a way that makes the most sense for your audiences to share. So this project toolkit is available. It includes one-pagers, flyers, press releases, social media posts, and we're constantly updating construction and event photos and videos. So if you ever kind of wonder like, oh, they're doing all this construction, hydro demolition is something we just talked about. What does that look like, right? Like, why do they have to close two lanes to be able to do that? And so being able to see that is really important as we progress through construction. The toolkit itself is also offered in a number of languages. There's 7 of them in total. A couple flyers are actually translated into additional languages, up to 14 languages. And we decided on those languages based off of what was our geographic need, but we're always looking to work with partners to see if we can provide additional information in languages that they actually think makes more sense. For example, it says on here the simple TNC flyer. That was something that the Port of Seattle actually asked us to create for their airport drivers. So think Uber and Lyft. Those drivers are going constantly from the airport to different destinations, right? And so lots of different drivers, they actually asked us to add 6 additional languages to our translations to be able to hand out that information in the language that made the most sense to that audience. So communications at the start of construction. If you know anything about WSDOT, our social media team does an incredible job being able to get out that message in the best ways possible, right? The ones that really resonate with the audiences and sort of this community at large. They really drove the start of construction communications for us. Not very often do you see, hey, we're going to go and reduce 2 lanes of I-5 for months at a time. And so it was really important for us to make sure that everyone was aware that this was happening. Part of that strategy was social media between Instagram Reels, Facebook, I think a TikTok and some blogs. We ended up with 1.95 million views on our social media across platforms, which really just sort of helped reinforce getting that messaging out there in the channels that really most folks are paying attention to. The 1.95 million views also ended up with 750 plus thousand engagements. So in terms of social media, especially for a government agency, really great numbers. We also held a media availability with a lot of our partners, or the key partners sort of within the Seattle area. So our secretary, Julie Meredith, the Sound Transit CEO, Dale Constantine, we partnered with SDOT's new director, Angie Brady, and then King County Metro's Deputy General Manager, Ernest Candeligi. So just sort of having that opportunity to talk to media. And in terms of media, 201 total mentions those first 2 weeks of our closure. Across all of the broadcast channels, plus radio and multiple news articles, the peak sort of being as lane reductions begin. Everyone's always looking at what's happening to traffic that first Monday when there were 2 lane reductions. And then we, of course, hosted multiple playoff games before a Super Bowl parade. And so lots of piqued interest as to what Revive I-5 was doing during those times. And outreach continues. I think that is the one thing we like to mention. Revive I-5 is a year-long project. We are out in the community year-long. So it's not a peak engagement period for us. It is consistency because we are going to be on the highway the majority of the year. So we are street teaming at a lot of link light rail stations, encouraging transit to transit use. As those light rail stations those park and rides become fuller and fuller. That you can't find a parking spot unless you get there really early. And then also encouraging folks out sort of within the community, just showing that presence that we are around, there to answer any questions that you may have and provide whatever information we can. I will just touch briefly. Everyone always asks us about the express lanes when we talk about this project. Express lanes are running northbound only 24 hours a day during all lane reductions and closure. So whenever the Revive I-5 project is on the highway with either a lane reduction or a closure, the express lanes will run in that direction. So the reason for that is the need for capacity. One incident can really cause severe and long-lasting congestion. We've seen that a couple times already, where a couple Fridays ago, a truck dropped just about 2 inches of debris. So dirt, twigs, branches, everything on 2 lanes of the express lanes. So when you're thinking about 4 lanes of the express lanes plus 4 lanes of mainline, usually it's 8 lanes of traffic going in that direction, right? We've reduced 2 lanes, so that now becomes 6 lanes of traffic running in the northbound direction. And then when you have a disruption in those 6 lanes, you're just constantly reducing the amount of lanes going northbound on I-5. So having that capacity at all hours of the day, really important. WSDOT also serves the entire region, the entire state. So I-5 and the express lanes really serve a role in reliability and safety for the entire regional transportation system. And we'll be issuing some updates as to how the past month has looked with the 2 lane reductions, because we're seeing a lot of early signs of improvement. We know there was a lot of questions about why we weren't switching express lanes and having them run in the morning in the southbound direction like we typically do. But really showing people that these are the 3 biggest key factors as to why we keep them northbound only. Also a reminder, this is temporary. Express lanes are going to be southbound only, 24 hours a day when we move to construction in the southbound lanes next year in 2027. So it's fitting sort of where we are in what phase of this project. And then finally, I-5 is the constant. Revive I-5, like I mentioned, it's going to go through 2027. We're going to have some type of work for the most part throughout the next 2 years. You can count on that, but work on other projects doesn't stop. Not only for us, but other regional partners. So you're going to need to start expecting overlapping impacts. And that's also why our friend Craig is here to talk about our 405 project, which happens to be one of those first ones where you're going to see some overlapping work. So do you just want to call out some of the other major projects within this area and sort of heed that warning that while we avoided as much as possible, say a northbound I-5 closure with a northbound 405 closure, that's just not something we can avoid with the long-term lane reductions on I-5. But that is it for me. Happy to take any questions.
All right. Yeah. If anyone has any questions, they can either add them in the chat or unmute themselves. But if not, it sounds like we can maybe go on to the 405 presentation. And thank you so much, Michelle.
All right, and thanks, Kenzie, for having us today. My name is Craig Smiley. I'm the Construction Communications Manager for the I-405 167 corridor program. If you go to the next slide, we've got a little bit of agenda. We will talk about what is the I-405 SR167 corridor program, and then provide some updates about the active projects that we do have. And at the end, we'll have a little time for Q&A there. So go ahead and move to the next slide. So what is the I-405 SR167 corridor program? The program's been around for about 20 years, and our corridor stretches from Linwood to Sumner, forming the only north-south highway alternative to I-5, as many of you probably are aware of that. We have 2 guiding documents. We have the I-405 master plan and the SR167 master plan. Both of them were developed with local elected officials, local agency partners such as Sound Transit, King County Parks, all of our usual suspects there, to really identify multimodal projects that envision new highway lanes for capacity improvements and interchanges, direct access ramps for HOV users, carpools, transit services, expanded transit services such as Sound Transit Stride Bus Rapid Transit System that's scheduled to come online in 2028. And the express toll lanes that keep that all moving. These are designed to address current traffic demands as well as future traffic demands. And say the I-405 master plan alone is over 150 individual projects that are designed for those travel improvements along the Renton, well, basically from Linwood all the way down to Tukwila. So go ahead and move on to the next slide. So our 3 active constructions, we're going to kind of start at the north end of the corridor here and work our way south. So the Brickyard to SR 527 project, if anybody has been up in the Bothell area lately, you've seen a lot of work that's been happening out there. This project basically extends the express toll lanes to be a dual express toll lane system, similar to what we have currently between downtown Bellevue and about the Kirkland area at 160th. That will extend the dual express toll lane system all the way up to 527. It also adds an inline station to service that Stride Bus Rapid Transit at 160th in Kirkland, a direct access and inline station at the SR 522 interchange, and another direct access and inline station at the 527 interchange. It's going to be connecting a lot of urban growth centers in Totem Lake, up in Mill Creek. It's going to be really providing a lot more capacity in a pretty narrow corridor that has a lot of challenges with terrain, sensitive areas such as the Sammamish Slough, things of that nature. So go ahead and go on to the next slide here. We're going to start talking about some impacts that are going to happen. Oh, here's a little preview of what the 522 interchange looks like. So that dark gray area there, that is new infrastructure that we are currently in the process of building, and including that transit loop kind of on the top left corner there. The lighter gray infrastructure is what stays and is existing, and that will make a little bit more sense on our next slide. So beginning this weekend, we are going to start demolition of that ramp that you see in orange there. So that is the existing northbound I-405 to westbound 522 ramp at the 522 interchange there. This is going to be a pretty tricky operation. As you can see, it is just right above the Sammamish Slough there. It's actually sandwiched in between 3 bridges. So we've got that flyover ramp above, and then northbound and southbound 405 are actually bridges down below. And then below that is 522 mainline itself. So super tricky because we do not want to damage the infrastructure that is there to remain, which is obviously that flyover ramp and then 405 below it. There's some weight restrictions, obviously, because those are bridges. And then the type of girders that comprise that ramp that we're removing it necessitates that once we start removing one section, we cannot stop until that section is completely removed out of there. So moving on to the next slide. This Friday night, we'll have some overnight closures this weekend on westbound 522 to remove that first section there, that purple one. The following weekend, the 27th through the 2nd of March, will be a full closure of both directions the entire weekend of 522. That will be a little bit more impactful. So as we go through these weekends, the impacts to traffic, both locally and regionally, will kind of progressively get more challenging. So that second weekend will definitely have some impacts on the local streets up there. Detour routes go either up to 195th or down to 160th, turning right back around. So we do expect some traffic at those interchanges and as folks are moving back onto 405 to follow those detours. It's really the third and fourth weekend is where we're going to see the most impact regionally because those require a full closure of both directions of 405. So southbound folks will be detouring on local streets. We have done that closure previously. We've got some lessons learned from about those closures. We will talk about that in a couple of upcoming slides here. And then northbound, folks are going to be basically detouring onto the off-ramp and then right back onto the freeway there. But we do expect pretty significant challenges, both for 405, obviously, since we do have reduced capacity on I-5. Folks have been using 405 to avoid some of those backups, but this will be a particularly challenging weekend, so 2 weekends. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So what we have done, we have worked with our contractor to get additional lanes on those ramps for northbound. We will have uniformed police officers on site 24 hours a day to help guide traffic through that interchange and get our throughput there as much as possible. We'll also be placing signs along the local street detours, neighborhoods, keeping people hopefully from blocking driveways and allowing access in and out of neighborhoods. It's something that we've heard previously. But again, I just want to reinforce that this is going to be very impactful. So go on to the next slide. Oh, so one more thing on that. Sorry, go back that one slide there, Sam, if you could. Normally, when we have a weekend closure like this, we see a significant amount of diversion to other roads. With I-5, that's going to be challenging. Right now, what we are looking at is a best case scenario if we can hit the normal diversion rates that we do of backups between 2 to 3 miles and 60, 70 minutes of delay. So that is if we do see a normal amount of diversion. People choosing to adjust their trips, using mass transit, things like that, traveling during off-peak hours. So it could go worse from there. So we're just doing our best to get the word out. We've had some news releases go out beginning this week. We'll have some more next week. We're already doing interviews with the local media to let folks know this is coming. So if you could help to spread the word, it would be very much appreciated. So if we go to the next slide, we'll move a little bit farther south down our corridor to the Northeast 85th Street interchange. This is right there in downtown Kirkland. Pretty interesting project. This is replacing the entire interchange that used to be a cloverleaf design with a 3-level interchange. The bottom level, level 1, being the east-west traffic for Northeast 85th Street, so going towards Redmond or downtown Kirkland. The second level is our direct access ramp for HOV carpool and bus rapid transit with an inline station there. And then the top level obviously is northbound and southbound I-405. So very interesting project. This is to support Sound Transit, Stride Bus Rapid Transit again. Also has some additional work in there for some fish passage work that will be coming up later this spring. We'll talk about that here in a minute. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is kind of the construction schedule, what this looks like. We are where that blue star is, or it says we are here in kind of phase 4. This is where we're really working on focusing on kind of shifting the traffic around the different levels. Right now, Northeast 85th Street is going kind of on that middle level. In the next month or two, we are actually working to put that on its final location at the bottom level. And then phase 5 will come along to follow that. So there will be some impactful closures this summer and this spring to move that traffic around on Northeast 85th Street, as well as on Main Line for that fish passage work that I mentioned earlier. That's coming up probably in May. Go to the next slide. And then the Rent to Bellevue project. So if anybody has traveled in this area, there has been significant construction going on here for several years now. Last summer, we had a very busy summer of construction, and this one will be no different. This project, again, is to support Sound Transit Bus Rapid Transit System. It is going to be adding at least one new lane in each direction, pairing that with the existing HOV lane to create a dual express toll lane system, similar to what we have in Bellevue. Also rebuilds 2 pretty significant interchanges at Northeast 112th Avenue, or sorry, 112th Avenue Southeast, which is kind of the Newport Hills Park and Ride exit. And then Northeast 44th Street, which is right down there by the Seahawks training facility. Both of those will be direct accesses, and then the Northeast 44th Street will be an inline station to service that Sound Transit Stride Bus Rapid Transit system. Lots of closures coming up this year. Last year, we did about a dozen closures over the summer. We've got about the same number of closures coming this summer as well. So those are going to kick off probably in March is what we're looking at right now for the significant closures. Sam, if you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And I'll just note that this is one giant puzzle, not just for each individual project, but regionally as well. As Michelle mentioned earlier, we really do our best that we possibly can to deconflict closures. So we're not having, a northbound closure on I-5 and northbound closure on 405. We're at the point now where that's not really possible anymore at times. We do have the FIFA World Cup, as she mentioned earlier, coming. That's really going to compress our work both before and after FIFA World Cup, because we will not be allowed to have any of these weekend closures during that time frame. And a lot of this work is really weather dependent. If you see anything that says striping or final paving on there, all that we need good weather for. So if we have one weekend that gets rained out, the Jenga puzzle kind of falls, and we have to come back the next week and try and put it all back together. And it is no small feat. So this is really, all that work is dependent on where the contractor is, if they are ready to go with work, and what the other closures are happening around the region. So a lot of work. Right now, this is kind of what we've got laid out with the 12 weekends as is. These are best case scenario guesses right now. We're kind of working on a 3-week look ahead. So as we come up, we're going to be letting folks know what is coming for the next 3 weeks. And that's really the best we can do as far as an accurate schedule, given all the different considerations there. So moving on to the next slide. We are also doing a lot of outreach and doing our best to let folks know, meeting where they're at, so they have this information and can plan accordingly. All of our contractors put out electronic road signs when we have full closures. We use those overhead electronic signs to let folks know. We send out mailers. We do lots of briefings such as this. I was at a neighborhood briefing last night, letting folks in Renton know that this is coming. And we have resources on our website, mailing lists. So if you are interested in getting updates about the projects and upcoming closures, you can go to our website that's listed on the next page, or just shoot us an email and we will sign you up to get notifications when we do have work coming. I'll go on the next slide and we'll just leave those up there for folks to take a quick look. And if we have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
All right, yeah, so if there's no questions, well, and if anyone thinks of one, feel free to just send it into the chat, and we can address those after. I'm going to go ahead and take over the screen sharing once more. Thank you so much, Craig. All right. Yeah, so we just heard a lot about construction disruptions that are going to be happening and are currently happening. So what are some of the things that ETCs can do or employers can do to support your employees? The first is obviously going to be offering transportation benefits. One of the most popular, of course, is going to be the Orca Business Passport. That's where you can provide all-inclusive transit access to your employees at just a fraction of the retail rate. There's also Orca Business Choice, which is kind of more a la carte. We've seen increased interest in Business Passport just in the last couple of weeks because we've had the announcement of the light rail connection coming March 28th. And when we just talked about the Stride Bus Rapid Transit and the work they're doing to complete these lines, the S1 line, the S2 and S3, those are going to be those rapid bus lines. And then in conjunction with the connection across the lake, this here on the right is the light rail. We really are seeing just a historic amount of transit expansion in our region. So folks that before didn't think that taking transit was an option are now realizing that. And beyond just the light rail or the Stride, right next to the Bellevue downtown light rail station is the Bellevue Transit Center, which connects to all of these buses here. So we're really just seeing Bellevue is now connected to the entire region. So no matter where folks are commuting from, it makes it a reality to come via transit. Especially relevant because only 11% of Bellevue's employees actually live in Bellevue. The About 20% are in Seattle, and then you'll see the other numbers here, the other cities here, Kirkland, Renton, Redmond. These are all along the S1 or S2 routes, or they're going to be along the light rail routes. There's a quick video here about the Stride Bus Rapid Transit. I'm not going to play it, but it is going to be linked at the end. It's really great information about just this project as a whole. Some really incredible things that I found is that currently from Burien to Bellevue, it takes about 55 minutes, but with these updates that we're working on, it'll be reduced to about 38 to 42 minutes, or Linwood to Bellevue being reduced to about 33 to 38 minutes. When we're out talking to folks and talking to commuters, some of the largest complaints or reasons that people say they can't take transit are because of the time that it takes, or because they aren't located near any bus routes. And so this is going to be really major in addressing those who say that the time is too much for them. And then, of course, we also are going to be seeing parking improvements along these routes. So those who maybe don't have a bus route right outside their door can now drive to one of these and take transit that way. Beyond offering transportation benefits, you can also incentivize sustainable commutes via recognition programs, highlighting commute champions in existing communications, or giving perks to those who do take sustainable trips, priority parking for van pool or carpool, parking cash outs, or free or reduced parking for those that are taking sustainable modes. And then there's also trip logging rewards, there's a current program that exists through the City of Bellevue's Choose Your Way Bellevue program, where they can win challenges and earn rewards for every time they take the light rail or the bus, or they carpool instead of driving alone. Probably the most valuable and most relevant here today is going to be staying informed and spreading the word. It's the easiest and the most cost-effective way to utilize commute solutions to your advantage. And at the end of each of those presentations from WSDOT, they gave the websites where you can go and sign up for transit alerts. Some other options are to be aware of the transit stops that are near you. Some great apps are the Transit app, King County Metro's Trip Planner, or One Bus Away. Even Google Maps' or Apple Maps transit options can be pretty good, and they can tell you exactly when to leave. That's usually what I use. And Connect Bellevue can also create a custom transit guide for your work site for you to give to your employees that details where the closest buses are, where the closest bus stops, and what routes are easily accessible. And the City of Bellevue's Choose Your Way Bellevue program also does customized commute plans for individuals. So if someone is curious about taking an alternative mode, but they aren't quite sure how to do that, you can send them there and we can detail all the different options they have and what routes specifically they can take to get from their home to their work site. Having transit information like bus maps, van pool brochures on hand is really helpful as well when folks have questions. There's a digital resource drive with all these, and I'll send the link here in the chat. And you can also host transportation fair for employees to learn directly from agencies. So the city will help you host one for free. You can email info@cywb.org to get one scheduled. They can get Sound Transit, King County Metro there, the van pool team there, so that individuals can ask all their questions and get some fun swag and maps along the way. And like I said before, keeping up with local agencies and encourage your teams to sign up for those travel alerts. So Connect Bellevue has a newsletter, Bellevue has traffic alerts, and then there's also the WSDOT's email list for those relevant projects. For those looking to join a van pool or a carpool, the Rideshare Online platform is a really great place to go. It'll show you a view like this. If you input where your location and your work site, tells you what carpools are going there. And you can actually go and view all of the van pools currently coming to Bellevue. I'll send this link in the chat as well, but this I took from yesterday. These are all of the vans that are actually looking for riders. There are about 150 van pools coming to Bellevue, and it looks like just this many right here are looking for additional riders to join their van. I like to keep an eye on this link. It could be handy to keep it saved as well. If you happen to see any that are coming close to your work site, or if you can get a van pool that's consistently coming to your work site, and maybe if somebody leaves, someone else can join, or you can add additional van pools, that's a really great way to encourage folks to carpool or van pool to your work site and just get all of those single drive cars off the road and help folks get to work a little bit quicker. We have a digital toolkit that has customizable flyers and posters talking about the benefits of carpool or vanpool, and detail some of the other incentive programs, basically anything you could want to know. And this is specifically for carpool or vanpool, but we don't need to go through all of those. There's also the ETC Success Toolkit that has even more guidance, just detailing all of the things you could really want to know, and helps with additional context on all there is to know about transportation demand management in Bellevue. But of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. We're happy to help. And yeah. Thank you guys so much. Are there any questions?
Hi, this is Maddie from T-Mobile with a quick question.
Yeah.
That rideshare online link that shows all the van pools, is that pulling in like community transit van pools and King County Metro van pools, or is that just looking at one agency?
Oh, that's a great question. I know it's for sure. I want to say it's both, but I will double check. I feel like within the link it shows you what the agency is, and it would make sense to me that it wouldn't show that if it was just from one, but I can double check.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? We all set? Okay, in that case, I'll send this link. It should have everything in there that I mentioned, but I'll send the Vanpool one as well for folks to save. And yes, you will get the recording in your email. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys all so much for joining. And of course, if you have any questions, you can email us or reach out. And thank you so much to Michelle and Craig for joining to speak on WSDOT today.
Thanks again for having us.
Thank you.